Mm, mm, mm. Man, have we seen this before, but not seen this before? All right, first things first. Welcome to CNN. I'm your host, the underdog, Kurt Kennedy. Let's go in. On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Okay. Well, as many of you know who watch this channel, I try to be faithful to present a biblical worldview. Most people think they do, but I think many people struggle with presenting things that are connected to political ideologies. And we have gotten to the point, we've seen this coming before. This isn't new, but we are at a point where people's political ideologies are the most significant thing about them in many ways. Even those of us who profess to be Christians can often find ourselves entrenched in our Christianity showing itself through what we believe politically. And I get it. It makes sense on some level. You know, many of us have, there's a lot that's happened over the years that has affected the way we view these things in this way. But I want to take a second, and this is just going to be a rant. So it is what it is. You know, if you watch this channel, you know how my rants get down. So let's get down. This is a rant. All right. I'm sure you know this already. But a video is going viral of a woman who was unalived. It was through cell phone footage by ICE agents in Minnesota. And it's a graphic, well, they said it's a graphic video. Sadly, to be honest, it's graphic, but it's not that graphic because we live in a society, from the games that we play, from the shows that we watch, there's a lot of gratuitous violence that we view as entertainment. So the video is graphic in one sense because it's real. And we know, like, wow, this woman, you watch someone die, but it's not graphic in that they're showing it the way like a movie would or a game would up close, you know? So on one level, I think it's just the reality. But this woman, Minnesota woman, mother of three, was in the middle of the road. ICE agents came up to her car and she started to back away and then turn. And then one of the agents let off 3 shots and her life she's no longer here with us. And there's been outrage over this story. And to be honest with you, if we're being honest, one of the reasons why I hate these kinds of stories is because there's a little bit of truth on both sides. There's some reality on both sides. So let me just start with a little bit of the reality on both sides. Then we're going to look at what our vice president said. I want to make a couple observations and then get to the deeper issue that you should pay attention to if you're a believer. All right. I'm not going to show the video. You can go look at that online. You can look it up on YouTube. You'll see it. And you've probably already seen it multiple times. I've watched it multiple times from many different angles so that I could kind of try to give some things that I think could be helpful. So let me tell you where I think the conservative right is accurate, I think. Number one, she was in the middle of the road. So on some level, it's seemingly, again, we don't know her. She can't communicate why she was doing this. She seemingly was blocking the road, even though the video footage clearly shows her letting other cars pass her by, including an ICE vehicle. Like, it wasn't like she was a defiant, but she was technically blocking the road. She was obstructing, the ability to be able to get up and down the road. Okay. There are things she just shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. You can't do that. Right. Then an ICE agent walks up to her vehicle. And so you have a few agents. There's one who walks directly to her vehicle. There's 2 that walk around the other side. One of them is filming the situation. And that officer happens to be the one that becomes in front of her car. And then he's the one who also pulled out his service weapon and then is responsible for this woman not being here anymore. So in the video, you see one officer walking up. There's some vulgarity. They're cussing, and he grabs tries to open the door, and then he puts his arm in the window. And then at this point, she's backing away, and then she tries to drive, and she's turning to the right, and that's when the officer that was in front of her, the one that was videotaping, he takes his service weapon is out, and he lets off 3 shots. All right. She shouldn't have done that. Like it's like, I get it. Listen, people are highly frustrated. We're upset. There's just things that, like, man, I wish she had just not tried to be in the way and all this stuff. And then when they're telling you to get out of the car, it doesn't matter if you like the way they say it or not. Once you position yourself, now I could be wrong about the laws in Minnesota, but once you position yourself to the point where law enforcement is telling you to get out of the car and you choose not to, you are legally resisting arrest. That's just the reality. Like, this isn't about size. This is just about, you can't do that. It doesn't matter if you feel like it's unjust. I get it. Believe me, I get it. I'm from all of that. But the reality is, you're breaking the law. When they ask you to get out of your vehicle, you're resisting arrest. She backs away, clearly moves off. All right. And then she gets three officer lets off 3 from his service weapon, and she's gone, crashes into a car up the street and all of that. So I think they were right. She broke the law. She resisted arrest. And honestly, you don't know what the officers were thinking in that moment. All right. Now let me go to the other side, and where I think the left has a valid point. Police officers, let's just be clear. These are ICE agents, right? They're federal law enforcement officers. There is a way that they are trained to de-escalate situations. The way that the officer was standing, by the training that they got, was, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to stand in the way of someone, even if they're trying to escape. You're supposed to be out of the way, right? The right said that. Well, we're going to look at what J.D. Vance said and then talk about that. But I think the left is right. That's, you know what I mean? The left, the people on the left, right? I think they have or even whatever, it's not even the left, because even Tucker Carlson and some others agree with this. I think there's a problem with the narrative that she was trying to gun down. Like, they're trained to know who she was. I highly doubt that they thought this woman is a possible, like, domestic terrorist or whatever it was, right? They can sense a threat. This is why the first officer goes to the car, puts his arm in the window. He wasn't intimidated by the woman at all. He was trying to open it out and get her out of the car. In many ways, let's be clear, I'm not saying law enforcement do not have dangerous jobs. I have a few police officers in my church. I love these guys, and they have some tough jobs. They go through it, sometimes for perception, because of all that stuff, right? They go through it. Their lives are in danger on some level. But the average person is not ready to go at a police officer. They're usually trying to get away because they're afraid of the consequences of their actions. I think it's highly unlikely that they looked at this woman, a white woman, and thought, oh, she's a threat. Normally, to be honest, if you're black, they're like, I feel like my life was in danger, so to speak. That officer, the first ICE officer, went into the car and was ready to try to pull her out, and she was trying to drive away and all of those things, right? I think it's unrealistic. And then to say that she was trying to ram this officer down and all this stuff, I don't think that's what the video shows at all. Now, I'm not going to say more. Let's listen to what our Vice President, J.D. Vance, had to say about this issue. I want to look at what he said, and then I want to make a few comments about what he said. Now, keep in mind, we're going to get to the deeper issue here. If you watch my videos, you know I don't land on the left or the right politically. I do not support either of them, because neither of them, I don't care what policies you agree with, at the end of the day, I do not think either political party cares about Christ and him crucified at all, nor do I think, as you'll hear me explain in this video, that they have the categories of humanity that God wants people who believe in him to have. So I don't stand by any party. So this isn't, I'm just trying to say what I think is realistic and what's not. But let's listen for a couple minutes to what our Vice President said about the situation, and then let's comment about it.
on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws.
Wow. Okay. Let's unpack some of this, all right? He said 3 things that we want to look at, and here's what I think we got to pay attention to as believers, all right? He said 3 things. Here are the 3 things that he said. First, he said that this woman was trying to, I'm paraphrasing, was trying to block what the ICE agents were trying to do, right? Actually, you know what? Let's go back because I want to make sure I'm clear. I don't want someone to be like, that's not what he said, because you know how people be. Let's listen to this one more time.
In the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left wing to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job.
All right, so we didn't go back to it, but the first thing he said was what the headline leaves out is that this officer had been hit by a previous vehicle, had 33 stitches and was dragged on. So he's trying to say that this officer may be reacting because he's already been in a vehicular type of situation. We don't know if that's true or not. We know that the officer's name just came out, but let's assume that that's true. That's tragic. That's tragic. 33 stitches, he got dragged. We don't know those situations. But to put it on the media, to be able to get into the mind of that agent of why he did that. Here's the problem I have. If I was hit by a car and had 33 stitches, and let's just say I have some fatigue about that, right? Let's just say I have genuine concern because I've had, 1, I don't know how long ago that was. 2, if that was recent and you're still struggling with it, then why are you on the job then? You might need some training. You might need to sit out, do a desk job for a year just to recover psychologically. Like, I don't understand how sometimes we put these people back out there and they're not fit, they're not ready, right? But then if that's the case, why do you stand in front of the car? Like, why are you in front of the car? Why are you standing in front of the car if you're worried about getting hit by a car? I'm not going to stand in front of a car. If I know, like, any of us who have been in any type of situation, especially if it was traumatic, you're going to remember that for a while. And you're not going to be in a situation to repeat that thing again, right? So for the media to say that the media didn't highlight that, that's not a gotcha moment. Maybe they should have, but that almost makes it seem like that justifies what he did, right? Like, when you watch the video, this woman was not driving fast. You can't drive that fast. And then when you watch the video, the officer who actually, when he discharged his firearm, he stepped to the left or to the right, but to our left, you could see both of his feet. He wasn't in danger of being hit. So to make it for our vice president to present it that way, you could maybe think that, but that would have to you would have to evaluate the motive of the woman. Not that video clip does not show she was trying to hit him. If you're saying that was the motive of the woman, and maybe there was some manifesto that was left behind that I don't know about, cool. Then say that her job is to stop. But that's disingenuous to communicate it that way. The second thing, and again, that could be true, but I don't think that's what you gather when you watch the video. But here's the second most important point for us. Here's what he said, just said. He said, this woman is part of a leftist agenda. All right. Let's go back to this real quick. This is important to understand what he's saying here.
Hack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If in the United States of America, what that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do.
All right, here's the deeper issue. He said what the media is leaving out of the headline is that this woman is part of a leftist agenda, right? So basically, don't know her. I don't know her politics. I don't know that. Maybe that came out by the time he said that. But I want you to pay attention to what's happening here. And if you're a believer, don't worry about how you vote. You have you don't have a president that you need to agree with. You have a savior who commands you to think and act a certain way. So please hear me just for a second, because this is the deeper problem with things like this. J.D. Vance professes to be a believer of some sort. Many people in the conservative Christian party profess to be a believer at some sort. Please listen to what I'm saying right now. When you say what the media left out is that this woman is part of a leftist agenda and that the left extremists are trying to use domestic terror attacks to stop the president from doing his job. Whoa. Whoa, whoa. So think about this for a second. Think of the tone in which our vice president is speaking. This is a woman who's dead, right? Think of the tone of that. Oh, man, there's so much I want to say right now. I'm going to get this out. Let me say one thing before I say what I'm about to say. When he talked about this guy has been hit, the media left that out. You know what else they're leaving out? Do you know how terrifying it is when, like, think about this woman. What is she thinking as an ICE agent is trying to come into her car? Like, we don't know what she's thinking. She could be terrified. She probably was blocking the road thinking, I'm just going to irritate some people. And then she's backing up so other cars could go, presumably. And then here come these ICE agents that have demonstrated to some people an abuse of authority, right? So we have no idea if she's terrified at this point. This little fake me out protest went left. Now they're coming in my car and trying to pull me out. She has no idea what they're going to do to her. She's a parent of 3 apparently young children. I think about my kids all the time when stuff happens. We have no idea what she's thinking as she's panicking, wondering what harm may happen to her. We have no clue. So it's not just the officer we got to think about. Think about the woman and what she may have been thinking that would make her pull away from that, right? We have to think about all of it. Let's listen. God cares about Mary's and Martha's. God says, forgive them for they know not what they do, to the Roman soldiers that were crucifying them. Let's not pretend like we only have to care for the ICE agents and not the people that are affected by the ICE agents' actions. And this is my problem with the politics. They present it as if the people who are in law enforcement, lives matter, and no one else does, right? And so then he says she's part of a leftist or all this stuff. Listen to the language, brothers and sisters. I'm talking to you if you're a believer. If you're not a believer, I get it. You can leave whatever nasty comments you want, even if you're a believer. This isn't about who you vote for. This is about who you believe in, right? If you believe in Trump, then that says a lot. This is about who you believe in, right? Think about this statement. He's basically saying, with the tone of his voice, this is how you could interpret it. Don't know his motive. Don't know him. But essentially, you could interpret what he's saying as her death was necessary, is part of a leftist agenda. Like she was. So if you're a conservative and you hear that dog whistle term, then it's like, who cares if she died? She had a right to die. She's on the left. This is the way that the culture is polarizing. This is the way the culture has been polarizing humanity. And the enemy, right, has been working behind the scenes, loving this stuff. To say that this woman, first of all, you don't know what her situation was. In fact, I heard a report, don't know if it's true, that she was actually working for ICE or did something for ICE or before all of this. I don't know if it's true. That could be wrong. I didn't have time to really research that statement. My main concern is him saying she's part of a leftist organization. This is a leftist media. So she did that. That's really a domestic terrorist tactic to just like be annoying and block the road. Like that's what that is. Like to make this about left and right, this is what I've been saying for years, what I call theological. And listen to that. If you hear that as a believer, I think he professes some measure of faith. What does that mean? Like, is that how God processes these things? So let me get to what I think here are the deeper issues. Here's the deeper issues and why I wanted to make this video, this rant. The deeper issue first is the hypocrisy. So he's calling out that she was of the leftist ideology, and basically he didn't say that's why she went down, but he's almost justifying her life being taken. That officer could have easily let her drive off. It wasn't that serious, fam. If you watch the video, don't get me wrong. Here's the reality. I have friends that are police officers. I've heard this for years. They're arrogant at times. You know, when you're a parent, right? I don't know what kind of parent you are, but when you're in a position of authority, some people get offended when you do not submit to their authority, right? Law enforcement officers, commanders in the military, they do not like insubordination. And sometimes they get offended, like almost like, how dare you not do what I said? And I've seen this happen in my own life, but I've seen it happen in a lot of times. Police officers say this all the time. There is a sense of, you got these people who have an ability to take someone's life on them at all times. In every situation, they always have the equalizer, right? Doesn't mean their lives aren't in danger as well, but they have that ability to do that. They are trained to de-escalate of all possibility, right? You don't step out of the way and let a couple go on a woman who poses no real threat apart from clearly trying to escape. Now you could say, well, that's not what she was doing. Cool, you can believe that. But here's what I do know. Here's what I do know. Listen to the hypocrisy. She's on the left and this is that, right? But when Charlie Kirk was killed and the left were sinfully, arrogantly, joyfully rejoicing in wrongdoing. This is why I can't stand to associate with anyone. They were celebrating. This man has children. I don't care what he said. I don't agree with a lot of what he said. I get it. This man has he has little kids, and his family was there in front of all these people. We're not even talking about what Candace Owens saying, who did it. What I'm saying is, when he was they went after all media. In fact, remember Jimmy Kimmel? Jimmy Kimmel cracked a joke about it, and Trump took him off the air for like a week. Remember that? Remember when Jimmy Kimmel, he had to come back on and tearfully apologize? There was all this rhetoric about how dare you make statements about this person's death because of their political views. And that's exactly what he did. And you can disagree with that. I don't care. It's my YouTube channel. This is where I'm coming from. I don't mind if you disagree. It's all right. But listen to this. It's the same hypocrisy. Oh, so when it was Charlie Kirk, how dare anyone say anything about his politics? And that's why he went down. And this is essentially what J.D. Vance just said. This is essentially what he just said about this woman. She's a leftist. He used a leftist twice. Let's rewind the tape to make sure that we all hear this, okay? One more time for the people in the back. Let's listen.
Part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do.
You see how it's political? Let's see this woman through the lens politically. Let's see that. Let's see this woman through the political lens. This is what he's doing. This is hypocrisy. Because when people said, well, here's why Charlie Kirk died, because of his rhetoric, it was like they shut it down. Jimmy Kimmel and others shut down. People were like, how could you? How dare you? I watched all these people self-righteously on Facebook say all this stuff. But then when someone on the opposite side dies, they say, well, this is because, look at the left. This is what they do. The leftists did. I don't know if this woman was a leftist, but that definitely wasn't a domestic terroristic situation. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. Do you honestly think Well, it's hard to ask these kind of questions because people are so theological that they think that God is pleased with this. Do you honestly believe that God is sitting there approving of everything that Trump is doing? If you do, you do not know the scriptures. I mean, yes, God will use them. Yes, submit to the governing authorities. That's not the question. That's not the question I'm asking. Is what he's doing in obedience to the Lord? And so, I just don't think so. ICE agents are wilding right now, and they have the authority to do so because our president defends everything that they do. I'm not saying that that's not how we live. We live according to truth, not according to political affiliation, political admiration. It's theological. We can't do that. We have to live according to. There's so much hypocrisy in this. It's like neon glaring to me. If you don't see it, that's fine. You can feel free to disagree. You can leave every comment in the section that you want. I'm unoffended. I'm unaffected by that stuff because I'm standing on the side of the truth, what I believe. So here's the other deeper issue. And here's what the deeper issue. The J.D. Vance and the left and the right, they want you as a believer, if you're a believer, they want you and me to see everything through the political lens. Oh, George Floyd was they talk about these things. This person, they talk about these people in a negative way. Both the left and the right do it. And they're missing two crucial facts, two crucial things. The first is what Jesus said. Let's get to what's really happening behind the scenes because we're so caught up in the political realities, we're forgetting what Jesus actually said. Listen to what he says here. This is Matthew 24, all right? I'm going to read 9 through 14 to give a deeper context and explain, but listen to Jesus's words here. He's wrapping up this particular part of his argument. And he says, then they will deliver you up, verse 9, the tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another, and many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. Many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So here Jesus is saying this. Many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. When he says false prophets, he's not talking about leading non-Christians astray. Prophets, when the Bible talks about prophets are supposed to be agents of God. Prophets are, the world doesn't care about prophets in the way that the Bible speaks of them. When you're a prophet in the Bible, if you do any research in the Old Testament to the New, prophets were always people that were supposed to represent God. That's what a prophet was. Thus says the Lord, and you have this back and forth. Like the book of Jeremiah is about Jeremiah, the one true prophet, and a bunch of false prophets, right? This is what's happening. So when Jesus says many false prophets will arise, he's not talking about the world. He's saying many people who will profess to believe in God will lead many people astray. I think this is happening right now through the political sphere, right? But then he says this, and here's the thing that you must understand. If you are a believer, you don't have to agree with anything that I said, but you don't even have to agree with my interpretation of what I'm about to say. But you study this for yourself and see, what is Jesus saying to me, right? What is he saying, and how am I impacted by this? Listen to what Jesus said in verse 12. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. Verse 13, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. Think about what he's saying. All right, let's make sure you understand. He said, because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold, right? I don't know if you know what the Bible talks about sin in different ways. You have sin, you have iniquity, you have transgression, and you have lawlessness. They can all interchange, but they're different. So sin is just missing the mark, a misstep. A sin can be premeditated, but it's often a weakness, a weak response. Sin, biblically, it can be anything. Sins can accomplish any of it. It's sort of a grandiose term where everything else drops down. But often when the Bible talks about sin, the reason why I differentiate these categories, because sin could be, I'm just really tired and my children woke up at 4 a.m. and I lose my temper, right? Boom, 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 boom. You just missed the mark. Well, in iniquity, transgression, a transgression is to know what God says and to deliberately go against it, right? That's what it says. Transgressions are sins, but like they're deeper because this is what the Bible would call deliberate sin, sinning willfully, right? Hebrews 10, 1 John 3, no one born of God can continue. You're talking about deliberate, willful sinning, right? That's what a transgression is. Iniquity is more the state of a person's heart. When a person's heart is designed to do evil, their actions will do not. So when it talks about the iniquity, right, of a person, it means their heart is so it has so latched on to sin that they're going to do that. And then you got lawlessness. Lawlessness is the worst of all of them. It's basically like we don't care what God's law says at all. We're going against it like we don't even care. It's like transgression times 10. Like we don't even care that God has a law. We're not listening to it. Jesus says here, and because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. Listen to what he's saying. As people see more evil, more lawlessness, their love will go cold. Now he qualifies what he means. The love of many will grow cold. He's saying people will not love other people as they see more sin happen. Okay, this is what he's saying. In our day and age, I think this is never more a reality. We have access through technology to see so many things. You know, we would have in the 80s, the Epstein file, all these different things that we've seen. George Floyd, you couldn't have seen those. I remember when Rodney King was beaten by these officers in 1991. What outraged many people about it was that people were saying, this happens a lot. You guys just don't see it. Someone just happened to have a video recording then. Well, now we all have smartphones, so we can easily, in fact, the last 10 years, most of the stuff that we've seen have come from people's smartphones, not even liberal media and their cameras, but people's smartphones, right? So this is the reality. So we are seeing more lawlessness now than ever before. And I promise you, and I've seen this, and you may even be affected, more believers' hearts are growing cold towards people. Here's what Jesus is saying. Because we're seeing people be more evil, we're saying we don't love these people. We can't love people who are evil. But the Bible never says love your neighbors who do good. It says love your neighbors as yourself. Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, to two Roman soldiers who were killing him. And we're supposed to be imitators of God, Ephesians 5:1. Jesus is saying, because people will see more evil, more lawlessness, their love will grow cold. And then he says this in verse 13, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. What is he saying? Well, at least, even if we summarize 1 up to 13, he's saying a lot. But in the immediate context of this verse, he's saying the person who endures in love, who does not let the lawlessness that's happening in the society make their love grow cold, make them justify not loving their neighbor, make them justify all these things. Hatred, all that, withdrawal, dismissal of people, right? Jesus is saying that. He's saying, if you endure in that, if you continue to love, whether you agree with people's philosophies, political ideologies, you agree with their expression of faith, their freedom of speech or not, Jesus says you must endure to the end to be saved. He is connecting salvation to people's ability to still love in a lawless world. And we are seeing more lawlessness than ever, because not like, oh, wars and stuff. We see those old movies, but we're talking about real time. We can just go on multiple videos and see a guy unaliving a woman on a subway train. We can see police doing something wrong. We can see people harming children. We can see all of these things all the time. We have access to it. I don't know if you remember this. Remember a couple of years ago, after the political campaign of 2020, a whistleblower came out against Facebook and was saying that their algorithm is only showing people negative things in their and then everyone thinks, oh, whatever's on my algorithm is what the world's saying. And this woman was saying, she went on 60 Minutes, all of it, went before Congress and said Facebook is responsible for some of the vitriol, for much of the vitriol happening. They're doing it because they know that anger and aggression and those things motivate people more than niceness, more than kindness. Kindness may make you appreciate, but anger gets you up. So when you hear your vice president say, this woman is of the left, or you hear the left saying, well, the right does this, the anger gets up, and then the enemy is just sitting there whispering to you that you can't love these people. They're unlovable. You only have to love the people that submit, that believe what you believe. Unbiblical. Jesus is saying this, and we're living in a culture, even our leaders are trying to make us be unloving. Remember at Charlie Kirk's funeral? I loved that Erica Kirk. I don't care what you think about Erica Kirk. You know what I loved about what she said at her funeral, at his funeral? I forgive the person who took my husband. In tears, wiping her eyes, I forgive him. One of the greatest moments, whether you believe or not, what she declared was a great moment of Christianity. I forgive him. Our president gets up a few minutes later and says, you know, Erica, you forgive, but I just don't. I can't forgive. I can't do it. Can't forgive. I hate these people. And then people start clapping. I don't know if they were Christians or not, but I imagine that many of them were. And they're laughing at that. Our president, who said he was a Christian, is saying, I don't forgive people. Jesus said, Matthew 6, 13 and 14, if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your heavenly Father forgive you yours. It's non-negotiable. You can't not forgive. And here our president says he doesn't forgive, and you got people defending him like he's a believer and doing with the will of God. Jesus said this, and he meant it. Now let's go to something else, because there's another deeper issue, and I'm going to end with this. Here's the other issue. Now let's go to James 3, right? Listen to what he says in James 3. He's talking about taming the tongue. This is Jesus' brother, right? Listen to what he says here. He says this. I'm going to start, I'm just going to read 1 through like 7. All right, here we go. Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness. For we all stumble in many ways. And if anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is a perfect man and also able to bridle his whole body. If we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we guide their whole bodies as well. Look at the ships also. They are so large and are driven by strong winds. They are guided by a very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. Listen to this. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body, setting on the fire the course of the entire life, set fire by hell. I think the Bible doesn't use fire for many things. It's usually hell, the throne that comes from the throne, destruction, right? And he's using the tongue, the way we speak. He's saying that thing is a fire, set on fire by hell. And then he says this. I'm going to skip to verse 9. Listen to what he says. No, let's go. No, let's go back. Verse 7. For every kind of beast and bird and reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. And then he says this, with it, we bless, verse 9, our Lord and Father, and with it we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth, is what he says. Listen, from the same mouth, right, come blessing and cursing. My brothers, these things ought not to be so. Listen to what he's saying. From the same mouth, from the same mouth. He said, with it, our tongues, we bless our Lord and Father. And with it, we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. And here is the deeper problem, brothers and sisters. Here's the deeper problem with all of this. Regardless of whether she was on the left or the right, regardless of whether Charlie Kirk was regardless, they're made in the image of God. Made in the image of God. And James, Jesus' brother, on behalf of God, is saying to people, believers, you cannot say praise God with the same tongue and then curse people who were made in his image. He didn't say curse other Christians. He said curse people. What do you think J.D. Vance just did? What do you think he just did? It doesn't matter if you agree with the radical, the left, or the radical, the woke right, as they call them now. I don't agree with any of them, but they're made in the image of God. All this rhetoric, and no one is thinking about a woman is gone into eternity. I don't know if she was a believer or not, and she had 3 children. Children are or orphans now, because apparently the father, the guy she was married to, they're not together. Her children are orphans. I would imagine, I think J.D. Vance does profess to be a believer. I could be wrong. I would imagine him saying, you know what? It doesn't matter what side of the aisle we vote. This is a tragic thing. It's tragic. It's tragic. It doesn't matter. This is a tragic thing. If since you said you're a Christian, you're bold about everything else, then say she was made in the image of God. And even though things happen in ways that we don't always think should happen that way, we may even disagree. Let's all admit that this is a tragedy, that a child has lost a mom, a sister has lost people have lost a friend. Let's acknowledge that. And then say, but with that being said, I do believe that the officer was in the right. Here's why. No. What you get is, this is a leftist agenda, and they're trying to destroy it, and this and that, and this and that. And then believers who are watching it, we get all riled up and be like, yes, those dumb leftists, these people, and we're cursing the people that are made in the image of God, as if God is going to stand there, and when you die and stand before him, he's going to be like, man, I'm so glad you said that. He's going to tell many people, I don't know you. I don't know you. But didn't we do this? We agree with you. I don't know you. I don't know you. Because you let the lawlessness, and let's be clear, in our climate, the lawlessness for most people is what you believe politically. If you're on the left, then you're lawless because you're on the right. If you're on the right, then you're lawless because you're on the left. And if the world wants to do that, let them do that. But as brothers and sisters, as sons and daughters of the King, if you are a believer, you are forbidden from acting like that. We are forbidden. And even though it is challenging and it's difficult, because some people, we do just want to choke. But what if God treated you the way you treat other people? What if God loved you the way you love other people? What kind of God would he be? If God imitated your love, if he imitated our love towards people, what kind of God would he be? Would you still want to serve him? Would you want to believe in a God who loves people like you do? Do you want to believe in a God who loves people like Trump or like J.D. Vance? Do you want to believe in a God who loves people like Kamala Harris or like all these people? Do you want to believe in a God who loves like that? Or do you want to believe in a God who says, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do? Do you want to believe in a God who says, neither do I condemn you, go and sin no more? What kind of love do you, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sure it's just me. What do I know, right? I'm watching people who I believe are going to go to hell because they profess to believe, but they did not endure in loving other people. They got caught up in the political rhetoric. Do you honestly think it matters if you agree with Candace Owens or not? Do you think it matters if you defend Charlie Kirk or not? You know what matters, based on what we read, is that you endure in loving people. Don't let the evil that you see let your heart turn cold. Don't let who you voted for, who you stand with politically, let them rile you up so that you didn't vote for a president. You are not submitted to a president more than you're submitted to a God who says, I'm the one who commands you. God's policies. It's politics. I want to know what Paul says. Politics is greater than politics. It's what I want to learn. I want to be like Paul and understand Christ and him crucified. Not like, well, we're living in a modern parable of the Pharisee and tax collector. What people call virtue signaling. Remember that term? That they don't use it as much anymore. Remember that term? All they meant was you're just being a Pharisee. Virtue signaling was what the Pharisee did, right? God, I'm so glad that I'm not like these other. This is a prayer. I'm not like these other people. This extortioner or this tax collector over here. I fast twice a week. Virtue signaling, right? And then the tax collector was like, man, God, forgive me. Be merciful to me, a sinner. Jesus said that went home justified because he had the posture of the heart, and everyone's chasing performance. Look at what I do. Look at what I believe in. Will you agree with that? I can't be. Sons and daughters of the kingdom. If you are watching now, live or later, you can disagree with everything I said. That's fine. I'm no one. I get that. But please look at the scriptures, do your own research, and ask yourself, are you enduring and loving people who are lawless, or is your heart growing cold? Jesus says, whoever endures to the end will be saved. Meaning, if you are not loving towards people and you put on the same political rhetoric, this theological nature that we have, feeling justified to talk evil, to bless God, but curse people made in his image because of their political affiliation or their sin proclivities or whatever it is, I think you're out of step with the gospel. Paul corrected Peter in Galatians 2, and all Peter did was see some of the Judaizers coming, and he got up and moved from eating with the Gentiles, and all the Jews did. And Paul said even Barnabas was led astray. And Paul said, I corrected him in front of everyone because he was out of step with the gospel. Meaning, not wanting to eat with Gentiles because you're afraid of these other, and separating yourself from them. Just a meal. He said, you're out of step with the gospel, out of step with it. How much more are we out of step with the gospel if we develop this theological rhetoric, this lovelessness, this sinful, we justify not loving people because of their patterns and habits. And yet we plead to God for mercy about our patterns and habits. This should not be so. But what do I know? What do I know? I haven't done this in a while, but let's go to the tape. I'm sure this will be fun. Let's go to the tape. Here we go. Okay, there's a lot of highs. Recap, high, too many highs. Hey, Olive Candy, good to see you. Yeah, nice, man, shaking my head. Yeah, when I said. Black again, I'll keep scrolling. Yep, still black, absolutely. Well, she was part of the leftist anti-ICE group. No reason to hide the truth. I'm not hiding the truth. I'm saying that doesn't matter. It's not important. I don't know. I'm not hiding the truth. I'm saying that. Why does that matter? Who were the people? What group were the people that were crucifying Jesus? What political group were the people who hit Jesus in the face and put a crown of thorns on his head and said, prophesy, who hit you? And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What group of people were those? It doesn't matter. I agree with you, bro. The government is being turned against it. 100%. You can't deny that. 100%. 100. Appreciate that. Absolutely not. I agree. 100%. He himself said he's not going to heaven. Trump did, unfortunately. Hey, I'm just, if that's what was said, I'll roll with you. What's up, Rich? You know how it is. Just pulling up. I get it. No pause. We know you. My concern is that cats like J.D. Vance profess no Christ. The Christianity of J.D. Vance, Candace Owens, ironically drags Christ's name through the mud with their clear lack of fruit to show. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I would agree with that. It's not, and people will get offended because they're thinking politically. So what are you saying that? I'm saying we have to obey Jesus more than political affiliations. If you can prove that God, then show me, please. I will recant what I'm saying because I do not see it. Outstanding point. Thank you, brother. I'm not sure what that was, but thank you. We find it so difficult to embrace love your neighbors as yourself. It's probably easy for us to get around the command by characterizing those we do not agree with politically as ungodly. You know what's funny, Deborah? That's the comment of the week right there. And it's spiritual warfare, right? Because it's an ideology. Here's what people will call me leftist right now, what I'm about to say, but that's fine because I have 3 boys over there that love their dad. I don't care if you call me woke with them. But here's the reality. That's how Christians during slavery got away with treating slaves because they're not even really human beings. I'm not talking about the 3/5 of a human being rule. I understand what that was, but there were people who didn't just use that in a political way. That was treated as you're not a human being. When you think people are not human beings, then they're not made, then you don't have to treat them as such. That's why it's called chattel slavery, because that's what you do to cattle. You put them in, put things around their neck, and you beat them when they don't submit. It's the same idol, different altar, right? So I just think, it's just sad to me. Thank you for reminding me not to vilify those I disagree with. Deborah, listen, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's biblical, though. I totally agree with you. There's a lot of people I agree with. I don't agree with. I think this is crazy right now, but I just see it. Good word, brother. Good to see you. You too, brother. I'm back. So I'm not going to post every day, but I'm back. I took a little hiatus a couple times, but I'm realizing I'm seeing too much, and I just want to say things, and not that what I say really matters, but for some of you that follow the channel, it seems to be beneficial. So I appreciate that. That hat is fire, though. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I do like this hat, right? Let me tell you why I got it. Not because of the sports team. I got it because I got a swelled up head, and this hat was big enough to fit. And I like the color navy blue. That's why. So the hat is fire, but it also fit my fire head. I got dreads and all that. So that's what it is. But yeah, it will end with this. This epidemic of dehumanizing cats is sad. And this is what I'm pushing back against. Sons and daughters of the kingdom, do not fall victim to the modern political literature. Do not fall victim to it. You will stand before God, and if you bless God, but then curse people made in his image, you will not make it. You will not make it. Do not think because you agree with people politically that your allegiance is to their actions and attitudes. No. You can be a conservative and be like, I don't stand by Trump at all. You can be a liberal and be like, where is Jesus? Where is eternity in your worldview? Don't get so distracted by what's happening here. The devil, you know what it says in Revelation 12? It says this. It says the devil was cast down to earth. And it said, woe, this is Revelation 12, woe to you inhabitants of the earth, right? And they said that the devil is going to be aggressive because he knows his time is short. You know what's interesting? This is a totally different video, but I'm just going to say this now and end with this. This is a deeper video. You know what the enemy's main strategy is making you and I think we have all the time in the world. There are people watching this right now that are not taking their faith seriously. And they just think, you know what? You think grace means, hey, God will forgive me for sinning and I'll have time to get it together. Yet Satan is operating knowing that time is short. And that was 2,000 years ago, right? He's been operating knowing his time is short. And you and I think we have all the time in the world. And we do not. We are walking on the thin ice of eternity every moment. And absolute truth is monitoring not just what we say and do, but our hearts and our motives. And God is going to, well, if you do not make it, if I do not make it, it will not be because God is harsh and sent us there. Truth will only declare what was untruth. And not loving is untruth. Cursing people made in his image is untruth, and all these types of things. I just don't see it. And I'm sure, listen, I have a lot to grow in as well. But what I'm saying is so scandalous. I cannot believe. No, I can believe it. You know what I can't believe is that any Christian who loves Jesus would fall for this. And sadly, I see many doing it. You know what I'm saying? What's up, William? Yes, your post, YouTube is beneficial. Thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate you. I deal with the same hat issue, my brother. I feel, you know what I'm saying? That's just the real. He said, yeah, bro, your video is always beneficial, whether cats agree. I don't make videos for people to agree. I've already accepted that. I make them because I think they're beneficial and they're helpful. And I just feel like I want to serve people. So, I don't know, this Ilevenia 8020. Look at that. Thank you. I appreciate you. You got 2 small children in your thumbnail, which means every dollar matters. And the fact that you would give me $10, I take that very seriously. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Very grateful for you. Realest podcast that I watch. Appreciate that, sir. Appreciate you. Miss you, Kurt. Need your wisdom out in these streets. I am back. I'm officially back. I am back. Wow. God recently spoke to me about my thoughts regarding his return. He told me it's a lot closer than I think. I think so. And if it's not, listen, if it's not closer, like his return, your death is. Every day is another day closer to when you're going to die. Once you've lived that day, it's gone. So people keep talking about Christ's return. It's like, fam, if you really believe Christ is coming back any minute, then how are you tighten up? How are you living? Some of us need to get off YouTube. Some of us need, what are we talking about? If you really believe that Christ is coming back, people out here wilding. What you think that Grace is going to be like, oh man, I was so proud of you when you stood up to that leftist? He's going to say, I don't know you. But Lord, I thought, I said, be imitators of God. 1 Peter 2, I had my servant Peter say, when I was reviled, I didn't revile people in return. Why did you revile people in return? People forget that Christianity is about imitating a person. If we're not imitating Jesus, doesn't mean we won't have weaknesses, but we're just, if the Lord allows it, I got a lot to talk about. Sometimes when I take these breaks, I just spend time with the Lord and grow and feed my church, and then I just have a ton. I got like a whole battalion of missiles I'm ready to pull out. So get ready, because I am back. So loved your point about what if God loved like I do. Man, I'm telling you what, this hit me years ago. I just thought, man, what if God loved people the way that I do? Would I still want to believe in him? And it was like, ooh. And you know what's sad? There are people who think God loves the way that they do. And it's just not true. Thank you for this video. I appreciate you. I agree with you, brothers. It's very hard to stand out here with this opinion. It is. That's why people don't like me, because I'll say this type of stuff and people get offended. You got to have a big platform like Philip Anthony Mitchell to offend people and still be appreciated. But it is what it is. So true. I'm losing so many people around me. Amen, brother. Amen. All right, I'm out of here. It's Friday night. I'm going to go hang with my sons and jump on the stick. Me and my son got to beat this game in Xbox. I'm getting tired of this game. The last time this game was whooping us. This Gears game. I'm about to go in with my 14. We about to get it in. Love you guys. Hey, your boy is back. I will see y'all, if not tomorrow, Monday. We'll keep our eye on this, but I got a lot to talk about. But we'll see you. Appreciate you. Like and subscribe to the channel, or don't. I'm not offended. It is what it is. We'll keep it moving. Grace and peace. Lord willing. See you soon.